So you are ready to participate in the 2 Unstoppable 21-day core challenge, and you're wondering what all this stuff on the calendar means. We're going to go through it in this video. Hopefully it will explain everything and give you any modifications that you may need. Please be sure to listen to your body whenever you're doing this. Take the repetitions down. If you feel like increasing, increase a little bit. If you need an extra rest day during this challenge, take it. May is a very long month, and this is only 21 days out of those 31 days that we have to play with in this particular month. What I'm going to start with is the core stretches that you see listed on this calendar. Those can be incorporated at any time, not just when listed. And they can also be done on those rest days as a part of an active rest period. So no matter whether you're choosing the standing or the seated or the floor work, those core stretches are the same. We'll start with a deep breath in. Exhale at the top. Do another one. We're lengthening through that core. And here we're going to take a deep side bend, bending over as far as you feel comfortable, breathing, and bring it back up to the center and over to the other side. Again, as far as you feel comfortable breathing. You can also do these stretches without that arm up overhead, leaning to the side, taking those deep breaths in and out. Bring everything back to that neutral spine, that core tucked in, which means that belly button is drawn in through. We'll take another deep breath in. Exhale at the top. Bring those arms down to the side, and let's take a little twist, leaving those hips facing forward towards the back. Bring that back to the center, and let's go to the other side. One of the best stretches that you can do is before you get out of bed or when you go to bed at night, stretch those arms up overhead or out to the side, whatever feels good to you. Stretch those toes and just elongate that entire body. That would be the core stretches we are talking about. There is one more that I will show you when we get down to the floor, but those should help lengthen and make everything feel like you've stretched it out. And if there's any tightness from doing these exercises, that should help. The next thing I'm going to show you is all about those planks. Sometimes we're a little scared of doing those planks. Sometimes we have some issues with doing those planks. That's why I'm going to show you a lot of modifications. So the first modification that I'd like to show you is on the wall. So we would take our hands, place them on the wall, and walk our feet out. Those hands should be right in line with your shoulders, and your body is now at an angle. You're drawing that core in and allowing everything to feel tight here, keeping this long line between the top of your head and your spine all the way down to your tailbone. Holding that pose, you can sink those heels down to the floor, or you can be up on the balls of your feet. I'm going to turn here to the side for this wall. See if that helps the angle view here. Again, keeping that core drawn in, leaning against that wall at an angle. That's one way to do it. Each step is going to take you a little bit lower. Another one is a nice shelf or counter. Same thing, you'll place the hands here, walk the feet back till you're at a good angle to where you feel that core activated. Holding those hips, that head nice and straight, long line in the spine, keeping everything in a neutral position, a nice long line. The next modification would be on a chair. So a nice sturdy chair, center of the chair, walking those feet back again, holding that plank. Bunch of different modifications here. Walk the feet back in. Then we would go to the knees. So we'll come down, and by the knees, we're talking about the top of the knee, right above the kneecap or the bottom of the thigh. Another way to think about it. Come on to that spot. Draw that core in and hold that plank. Again, a nice long line from the crown of the head down to the tailbone. Another option is on the forearms. Here, breathing. And yet another option, that full plank position, keeping everything nice and straight. Take a second, you can look down, make sure your hips are even, and then bring that head right back to that neutral position. There are modifications and a full plank for you. Please take your time, progress as you would like. Use those planks to add in to either the chair or the standing abs or the floor abs, or don't do them at all. It's totally up to you. We're going to move on to explaining those chair or standing exercises. So on day one, we have the standing bicycles. So we're going to take that opposite elbow and bring it across to the opposite knee. Raising that knee up as high as you can, going in that general direction, trying to get it towards your knee. You may not get it there. You may be right here, and that's fine. A little bit of balance here. Crossing it across the body. We have the leg lifts next. You'll need a chair for these. This again is in that purple section, that top section, that's seated or standing. Those leg lifts, we're going to concentrate on sitting up nice and tall, long line here. Hips straight, facing forward, ribs stacked right over those hips, and raising that leg. Trying to stay upright, trying not to bend too much. Working through those lower abdominals, making those abs bring the leg up. And then we have our ankle touches in that chair, taking those arms and legs nice and wide. This is on day 2, I believe. Reaching down towards those ankles. Keeping everything, again, drawn in nice and tight here. Belly button towards the spine. Reach as far as you can. Down. The next seated exercise we would have is the side, it says side crunch. You're working the side obliques here. We'll be taking one hand behind the ear. So I have my right hand behind my right ear. I'm going to raise my left leg, reaching it across. A little bit deeper, you can feel. Then you might get in those bicycle crunches. Bring it across, and of course, you're going to want to do it on the other side. If you were to do a standing side oblique, that is one of the options. You would constantly do side bends. So you're going back and forth. You could certainly have a weight in this hand. Letting that weight slide down your leg, bending over to the side. And of course, again, what you're doing to one side, you'll do to the other. I'm going to set that down, and we're going to get into the regular crunch that we talked about in the seated position. So coming towards the end of your chair, as far forward as you feel comfortable coming. Hands are going behind the ears, and you're leaning back in that chair, exhaling, coming forward, exhaling, sorry, coming back, inhaling, forward, back, That's your crunch. I'm going to try to keep those feet on the floor. Control it as you go back, only going back as far as you feel able, keeping everything nice and tall. And there's your crunch. Squats. Now this is in both the standing, seated, and floor work section. You can use an object for these, or you can simply use your arms. So I'm going to show those squats. We're going to load that body weight into the heels, holding the arms out. We're going to do our squats. Bending down to your range of motion, again, tightening through that core. You'll notice in the next week, I have you pressing an object overhead. It can be as simple as this ball is very light. It can be a pillow. It can be a weight. It could be a weighted ball. As we press down and come out, we're going to press up overhead. So coming down, press up overhead. All working that core, keeping that core nice and tight as you go up and down. We have a modified bird dog with a crunch in this next one. You're going to use your chair again, leaning in that center of the chair, extending opposite arm, opposite leg, and then crunching that elbow to that knee. Now what you do on one side, you're going to do on the other. You can switch back and forth. You can take the crunch out of it. So just that extension. Moving through. We have the dead bug. It's a great exercise, an alternate arm-leg exercise. I'm going to show that here in the chair. Again, you're sitting towards the edge of the chair, wherever you feel the most balance. You're going to pretend that we have a string attached from the opposite arm to the opposite leg. We're going to lift and lower. Either side, keeping that core as stable as possible. Lift and lower. That, I believe, is for a minute in your challenge. Take your time. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. We have the canoe twist. You can use that pillow, ball, or a weight. So where it says twist, it's like you're paddling in a canoe or a kayak, dipping it down, bringing it down back to the center, over to the other side. If it says 10 twists, that's 10 on each side. Dipping it down, exhale, inhale, exhale. Taking your time and moving through these, keeping those hips facing forward so we protect the back. That last exercise listed in the standing chair are high knees. So we did these a little bit with the squat challenge. If you participated in that, you're just going to bring those knees up nice and high. When your foot touches the ground, you're going to bring it, the other knee right up. So you're using those lower abdominals to pull that knee up and move through those high knees. So the next thing I'm going to show you is all of this stuff that's on the floor. So we're going to go through all of that, except for the squat, because that is the same, and except for the high knees, because that is also the same. So those bicycle crunches on the floor, come on down to the floor, getting that back nice and flat to the ground so that spine feels nice and relaxed, nice and long. Feet are bent, knees are right over those hips. Hands are going to go behind the ears, and there's space between the chin and the chest, like a tennis ball is sitting here, or a grapefruit. We're going to extend one leg and crunch over to the other, repeating that. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to exhale as we crunch. Inhale as we come back down. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. The next exercise we have are those leg lifts. These can be done a couple of ways depending on what your low back feels like. So we want to first make sure that our low back is, again, nice and flat. We don't want a curve in the back. We don't want it rising up off of the floor. So the first way to do this is extend one leg, bring the other knee in, bring it down. Knee, down. Knee, down. If you feel that your back is rising up off the floor, you have both knees into the chest. Extend one leg at a time. This is one way to do it. Another way to do it, and I like a little bit better, is one leg stays on the floor, the other one we rise up and lower. Again, targeting those lower abdominals here, a little bit more similar to what's in the chair. Bringing all of that together. And of course, you're always going to repeat that on the other side. The alternating toe touch, those legs are going to come up in the air. We're going to reach across the body, opposite hand towards opposite foot. Exhale, inhale, exhale. Every time on that lift, you're exhaling. When you come back to center, you're inhaling. Those side obliques. 2 ways to do these. Across one ankle to the opposite knee, using that opposite hand behind that ear. So I've got my right leg on my left and my left arm behind my ear. My right arm's just kind of hanging out over here. And I'm going to crunch up towards that knee. Exhaling again. Inhaling. And you'll do that to the other side, the same thing. All right, the knee slide crunch gets a little bit tricky here. We need to make sure we have that space between our chin and our chest, that our back, again, is flat on the floor. One way to do this is to tilt that pelvis up towards the ribs. So feel if there's lots of space. If you're just laying here normally, then as you tilt those hips up, you'll feel that there's no space here. I'm going to place my hands on my thighs and slowly lift my shoulders, my head, and my neck as one. And slide on up. If the neck starts to tire at all, take a break. Do as many as you feel like you can. We talked about the squats, and we have the bird dog crunch here on the floor. So in that typical bird dog position, we're going to have that opposite arm, opposite leg, bringing that elbow to the knee. And of course, just like in the chair modification, you can leave this crunch out of it and just do a regular bird dog. Also working through the core, great exercise. The dead bug on the floor. Again, that back, suction cupped to the floor, nice and flat. Arms and legs come up. Make sure again that that back is flat. Lowering the arms and the legs, slowly, carefully, keeping those hips nice and stable, resisting the urge to rock side to side. Keeping that back flat on the floor. So sometimes you might lower your leg a little too far, and there goes the back. So only lower as far as you can. That V-sit with the twist. You're going to sit right on that tailbone. Dig those heels into the floor. You can grab a lightweight or a pillow or a ball, twisting side to side. So the torso and the knees are making a V, sitting up nice and tall, twisting side to side. And you have those high knees in there. Just like we showed in the chair, high knees, you can use that pillow, that ball, or that lightweight in those as well. I hope you enjoy this challenge. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at coachstacyruns@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.